You like to think you're a good person. You try to be kind, patient, forgiving. You avoid conflict. You want to make the world a little better, or at least not worse. But tell me something. Why does it feel like the world keeps taking advantage of you? Why do cruelty, arrogance, and manipulation so often seem to win, while your decency feels like a burden you have to carry alone? You've been told goodness is the highest virtue. But what if I told you it's also the perfect disguise for weakness? There's a line Machiavelli wrote centuries ago that few people truly understand. A man who wishes to make a profession of goodness in everything must inevitably come to grief among so many who are not good. He wasn't glorifying evil. He was describing reality, a brutal, uncomfortable truth, that pure goodness, unarmed, unguarded, naive, gets devoured. Imagine a lamb walking into a den of wolves. Its gentleness is beautiful, but also useless. The wolves do not admire its innocence. They taste it. This is the paradox Machiavelli saw. Virtue, when stripped of strength, becomes a liability. And yet our culture worships a kind of moral purity that demands we amputate our claws, our ambition, our ability to say no. We mistake submission for kindness. We mistake fragility for peace. We mistake self-erasure for love. There's a kind of shadow in every human being. Carl Jung called it the dark side of the psyche, the impulses we suppress to appear good, civilized, acceptable. But when you deny this part of yourself completely, it doesn't disappear. It festers. And eventually it owns you. Have you ever smiled through anger? Pretended to agree when every fiber of you screamed no? That's your shadow. Not gone, just buried. And buried things don't die. They rot. We all want to be good, but goodness without awareness of evil is just innocence, and innocence is fragile. Nietzsche saw this clearly when he wrote, "Whoever fights monsters should see to it that he does not become a monster. And if you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you." But here's the twist most people miss. If you refuse to look into the abyss at all, if you deny that darkness even exists, you remain its victim forever. True morality isn't about avoiding evil. It's about understanding it and mastering it. Machiavelli didn't write The Prince to create tyrants. He wrote it to expose the machinery of power so that idealists wouldn't be destroyed by it. He saw that behind every noble face lies a calculation, behind every promise a strategy. A good ruler, he said, must learn how not to be good when circumstances demand it. Not because cruelty is admirable, but because power is not neutral. And if you refuse to play the game, you don't purify it. You simply lose it to those who play it better. Even the saints had shadows. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the German theologian who opposed Hitler, once said, "Silence in the face of evil is itself evil." He believed faith without courage was hollow, that to be truly good sometimes means doing what looks terrible, lying to the oppressor, sabotaging their plans, even conspiring in violence to save lives. Goodness, when it grows up, stops being polite. It stops asking for permission. It becomes dangerous. We're told to be nice, to forgive and forget, to turn the other cheek. But tell me, who benefits from that advice? The abuser who knows you'll never fight back? The corporation that counts on your silence? The friend who drains your energy because you're too afraid to set a boundary? What if being too good is just another way of being controlled? Plato once said the soul is like a chariot pulled by two horses, one noble, one wild. The noble horse represents reason, order, virtue. The wild horse represents passion, desire, chaos. The task of the charioteer, you, is not to kill the wild horse, but to steer it. That's the essence of strength. Not purity, but integration. You don't become whole by amputating your darkness. You become whole by learning to ride it. Think of the heroes we actually admire, the ones who changed history. They weren't flawless saints. They were dangerous people who had their power under control. Martin Luther King Jr. was peaceful, but not passive. He faced jail, death, humiliation, and still marched forward. His goodness had teeth. It bit back against injustice. Or take Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor. He ruled an empire with compassion, but also with discipline and strategy. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." He didn't wait for purity. He acted in imperfection. So let's ask the question no one dares to. What if your fear of being bad is the very thing keeping you powerless? What if morality, without strength, is just decoration? A shield that protects no one? Every time you swallow your truth to avoid conflict, every time you pretend not to notice injustice because it's inconvenient, every time you mistake cowardice for compassion, the shadow grows stronger. You're not being good, you're being harmless. And there's a difference. To be harmless is to be at the mercy of everyone else's will. To be good is to know you could harm, but choose not to. The first is weakness, the second is power. Machiavelli's lesson wasn't to abandon morality, it was to arm it. Because only when you're capable of darkness can your light mean anything. You might think of this as a kind of moral evolution. Innocence is the seed, corruption is the soil it grows in, and maturity, real, grounded goodness, is the flower that emerges after the struggle. You don't become wise by staying pure. You become wise by surviving temptation, betrayal, failure, and not letting them destroy you. This is what Nietzsche meant by becoming who you are, not who society told you to be, not who religion guilted you into becoming, but the person forged in the fire of experience, scarred but awake. So ask yourself, what would it mean for you to stop trying to be so good? Not to abandon your values, but to stop apologizing for your strength, to stop letting people cross lines because you're afraid of seeming cruel, to stop shrinking just to make others comfortable. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be real. And sometimes reality has sharp edges. Goodness that refuses to confront evil isn't virtue. It's vanity. But goodness that learns from evil, that looks darkness in the eye and says, "I see you, but you don't own me." That is transcendent. That's the kind of goodness the world actually needs. The kind that doesn't hide from its shadow but uses it as fuel. Because in the end, light isn't the absence of darkness. It's the mastery of it. So, if you feel torn between being kind and being strong, between being gentle and being powerful, remember this: the goal was never to be purely good. The goal is to be whole. And wholeness, the union of light and shadow, that's where true humanity begins. Become dangerous, but only in service of the good.